What if chasing success actually made us less successful? What if the key to success was chasing failure instead? And I know how that sounds because from a young age, we've been conditioned to chase success and avoid failure at all costs. We grow up hearing things like, failure isn't an option, you only got one shot, or don't mess this up. But this is the greatest paradox of all. The more you chase success, the more likely you are to fail. And ironically, the more you chase failure, the more likely you are to succeed. Because here's the thing, when your goal is to succeed, you're fixated on the outcome. You stop playing to win and start playing not to lose. You become cautious, you avoid risks and wait for the perfect moment to begin. When in reality, that moment never arrives, and you stay stuck, paralyzed by the idea of failure. But when the goal itself is to fail, something interesting happens. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start taking action even before you're ready. You stop fearing mistakes and start collecting them instead. Each failure becomes a data point, an experiment, a small victory in disguise. You begin to shift your relationship with the word failure itself. You recognize that it's not the opposite of success. It's the key ingredient that creates it. For example, for years I struggled with social anxiety. I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect. I chased this so-called idea of success, to be well-spoken, to be eloquent, and to be the most charismatic person in the room. But this pursuit of success actually had the opposite effect. I began avoiding environments where there was a risk of failure, not realizing that my avoidance and lack of action was further fueling my limiting beliefs and keeping me stuck in this never-ending pursuit of perfection. The truth is, you can never be perfect, because perfection is an illusion which only exists in the mind. So after years of trial and error, I asked myself the following question. What if I chased failure instead? What if I embraced the awkward fumbles, the awkward eye contact, and the awkward silences? Because each time I did, it wasn't really a failure. It was evidence rewiring my brain that I'm the type of person who has the confidence to speak up in spite of nerves and discomfort. And as with all great ironies, the more I pursued failure, the more quote-unquote successful I became at the skill of communication. And this holds true for just about anything in life. If you're waiting for the right moment to begin, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. But when you approach things with the intention of failing and learning, you shift from overthinking into doing. As was the case in a famous study, where a ceramics class was divided into two groups, one graded on the quantity of pots made, and the other on the quality of a single perfect pot. The end result being, the quantity group produced far better and higher quality pieces, proving that each failure is simply a data point. And with enough data, repetitions, and feedback, marginal incremental growth over a long enough time period is inevitable. As Thomas Edison once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work." So instead of chasing success, try chasing failure instead. And to help you, I've created a free habit tracker so you can track all your failures and grow into the person you've always wanted to become.